What's up, everyone? Scotty from Chernobyl Studios, and today we are looking at Extinction Level Event, the master kit from Spectre Digital. Who knew? Who knew that after 10 years of screaming about drum samples, that the guy who hates them the most would create a drum library? So I guess hell has frozen over. All drummers can count to 4, and every bassist is amazing, I guess, because I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. It's pretty amazing. So as you heard in the little mix demonstration there, they obviously sound amazing. So let's go beyond that. They just sound amazing, because that should pretty much be a given at this point in time. I did help beta test this thing, so I do know quite a bit about it, and I do also know it's been in development for at least 2 years, at least. So it's a long time coming, and it's cool to see that it's come out. Now, instead of going through the entire thing and making a 1-hour video about this thing, I think I would rather talk about the aspects about this that differentiate it from other drum libraries on the market. The first thing is that the full drum bleed. The second, which is cool, and other things have that, but the second thing really, and the thing that I really like the most, are the room microphones. So if you heard in the demo song, these toms sound massive. So if I just solo this and we listen to the toms here. Just the entire space that the drums seem to live in sounds gigantic and massive. Now, I still have a plate, and I'm doing my room trick, my black metal mixing reverb trick that I do, that I'm sort of working on. I did all that, but even without those in there, the toms still sound absolutely massive. So that's without the plate or any reverb on the drums at all. So that's extremely impressive, because one of the things that sometimes can be annoying, if you want to do big sounding drums, it's you got to do a lot of hassling. There's a bit of hassle to do those with other drum libraries on the market. This one, in my opinion, makes that very easy, because we have not one set of microphones to do with that, but we actually have a derp load. So we've got 2 overheads, which is to be expected, but we've got a room rear, we've got a room front, we've got a room far, and we have a hall. So that's 4 different, I'll call them ambient style microphones, that help bring character and just bigness to the shells and the drums themselves. And that, in my opinion, is one of the most important factors of making drums sound real, is that they exist in a space, a real space. So one of the things I think ELE, I'm going to call it ELE from now on, has gotten right, in my opinion. Yes, we have the drum bleed, that's all well and good. Other libraries have done that, but it's the room mics. Having room mics that, near, far, front, rear. And that's not even the only thing. You actually have a front of kit. So there's all these different angles of the drum kit that you have tonal options with, and you just are not going to get that with some of the other libraries on the market. Now, I know you guys are looking at this going, oh, it's in Kontakt. It's fine. It's in the Kontakt free player. And one thing, so if I can just I'll show this to you right now. It takes 2 seconds. Is that you install it through native access, so that when you buy it and you get the key, this is totally free. It downloads it and installs it for you, so you don't have to. It's completely automated. Here's the key for it. Here's how I install it. Done. You can go in the settings and tell it where to install, but all that is taken care of for you. You don't have to do it manually, and updates here are also automatic. So you can see available updates here. I have none, but when this gets updated, maybe new presets or some bug fixes or something like that, because all software has bugs. It doesn't matter, whatever, or just a UI update or something like that. You can get it through native access, so you won't have to go back to the website and manually read down it, manually delete anything. It's just all going to be taken care of through native access. Personally, I'm a big fan of that, which also means that if we open the browser, I usually close it for this video. If we open the browser, it shows right here in the library section, which is also great, because it means you don't have to create shortcuts and playlists and all these things with the files. So there's no finagling. You just install it and go. Now, the first thing that I would recommend after you install this, before you use it, is you do what's called a batch resave. It's very simple to do. You come up here to the, whoops, wrong button, goodness gracious. You come up here to the disc looking icon and you click on batch resave. What this is going to do is Kontakt is going to put into memory. It's not going to take any resources. It's just basically double checking the file directory of every sample, and essentially what this will mean is the library will load instantly. So you won't have to sit here and spend a couple minutes loading it every time. Depending on the strength and the speed of your computer, it could take anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes to do the batch resave. But when it's done, and it'll load instantly. You won't have to worry about that anymore. The user interface here, easy to understand. Everything here works, very reactive. The buttons are very reactive. This is one thing that's very important to me. There is a library that will remain unnamed, which I have not used, even though I bought it the day it came out, from a very big company, where the UI interface is slow and it's laggy. These buttons piss me off, just things get in the way, and they're just trying to get too cute. I appreciate that we can see what is being hit here. I think that's important, but I don't care about super complex animations and stuff like that, because once I have everything loaded, I close it and I never see it again. That's fine. But the artwork here is cool. All the options are presented to you. Everything's obvious. Everything makes sense. I like that you have the necessary amount of cymbals. You've got a China, you've got 2 splashes, 2 crashes. This is something that I will find myself doing sometimes in other libraries where I'll be deleting cymbals because I only want 2 of these, 1 of these, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't call it bare bones. It's just what you would expect to have for pretty much any genre that you would want to deal with. Okay, so the EI is very easy to understand. We've got the settings tab down here. And then the MIDI map is fantastic because when you're trying to remap MIDI, for example, let's say you're opening it up in your DAW and you want to remap it, and you want to make sure that this is the kick. You have a visual representation that, yep, I'm hitting the kick drum. It is the program is seeing it. Fantastic. C1 here, C1 there. Great. You could click the learn button here and hit a keyboard, or like an actual keyboard if you want, or just select the note that you would want to use. It's great. I didn't do any of that. I just made the drum map in Cubase. Didn't take very long, especially because everything here is neatly organized and obvious. There's no guessing involved here. And one thing too that I really like is C1 actually means C1. I don't know why some libraries, it says C1, but the trigger articulation is on C sharp 1 for some reason. I don't know. No idea. All keeping up along the top here, we have our bleed control. You can turn it all on or turn it all off. If you click purge here, turns everything off. If you want to have only kick and snare, sweet. Or you could use all bleed. There's a button that turns it all on. Overhead balance, fantastic. So one of the things about mixing real drums that is a pain in the ass is that you're really dependent on how good the engineer was. So if the engineer has an ear for being able to balance things in the microphone and get things, a good starting point, that goes a long way because it makes mixing drums just significantly easier. But if you get a set of drums from an engineer and just the hi-hat is 4 dB louder than anything else in the overheads, you're just fucked. You really can't do anything about it. And that's going to hurt the overall aesthetic of the song, because you're just going to have this hi-hat always sitting here just banging away, going through every other aspect of the drum set. So here you can customize all of that. You can tell exactly how much of each signal that you want in the overheads. Awesome. So if you want a really loud, hi-hat, that's your thing, you can turn them up in the overheads. Great. Otherwise, you have all the control to do that here. Same thing with the room balance. You can tone down the kick if you want. Like, I have too much low end, let's just turn the kick down. I'm doing a fast metal song at 240 BPM with 16 kick notes everywhere. Let's just nuke the kick in the rooms, or even in the overheads. We don't need them here. Great, you can do that. So the flexibility to do that right here is fantastic. So we go back now to the drum hit. We can see all the drum hits. We can select the cymbals that we want to use or the shells that we want to use. And then obviously something that you're probably used to seeing, from other drum libraries here, the shells mix, and this is set up by someone who knows how to record drums. Obviously, Glenn knows what he's doing. So you have top of the line microphones for every shell, and you can mix them in here. Think like if you've done using 2 different IRs for a guitar tone. This is kind of the same thing here. You can already mix and balance how much of what type of characteristic you want in the kick. And you've got 2 different microphones, a kick out and a kick sub. Snare top, snare bottom, rack toms, floor toms, the front of kick, which I don't know I've ever seen before. This is really cool. It just has, like, if you're standing in front of the drum kit, you get, that, let's see. Yeah, we can actually solo that. So does it do anything special? Maybe. Maybe it might add that little extra bit of depth that you've wanted to add into your song. Who knows? Cymbals mix. Self-explanatory here. I don't think I need to go through this. But your panning's on top, solo mute phase, or, all the different cymbals down here, your overheads, your rooms, so on and so forth. Okay. And if you haven't noticed already, you have the stereo output that you can route them to. They've made it pretty easy here where you can select just a basic stereo out, so everything goes through one stereo channel, and then that means you would spend all of your time in the actual plugin trying to get everything the way that you wanted. A multi-out basic, a multi-out expanded, and a multi-out advanced. I tend to use the multi-out expanded because the multi-out advanced, what that's going to do is that's literally going to put every different microphone on its own stereo track. And it's just like, no, I'm just going to have the kicks on one channel, the snare top, snare bottom, and things like that. And if I want to change something, I'll just come in here and change the faders. So there's a lot to do in the actual plugin itself that's useful, not just like extra flibby flabba that's like, okay, that's cool, but I'm never going to use that. Why is that in here? Okay. And don't forget, if you look over here on the shells mix, you have a G comp or a 76 comp and a process button. This is literally exactly what it sounds like. You can run it through an SSL G comp sound, you can run it through a 76 compressor sound, and you can have everything processed. So if you come up here, there's a couple different presets, and they're all processed by Jordan, Glenn, or Jackson. Okay, if you want to start completely from scratch, you could it doesn't matter which one you select, just turn processed off, and you're completely raw now. You can do whatever you want, however you want to do it. I don't see the point to do that because these sound fantastic already. They're very natural sounding, great sounding shells. I believe these are maple shells if I remember correctly. So pro lights, sonars, great drums, great snare. So Pearl, Sonar, Ludwig. So there's a bunch of different selections here. Don't quote me. It's been a long time since I've looked at drum stuff, but I would imagine that this is a maple kit. They just sound very good for recording. You can kill me in the comments if I'm wrong. It doesn't bother me. And then obviously you have a drummer perspective or an audience perspective. Now this is a big pain in the ass if you've ever had to do this by yourself by hand. But just click the button. Now I have audience panning or I have drummer panning. So everything in the UI makes sense because it's been made for us. It's been made by a drum engineer who's done this, who wants big fat drums, and he knows what he wants to do. Glenn, I'm talking about, when he's mixing drums. So here we go, right? Awesome. It's as complex as it might look with all of these, cymbal mixes and settings, stuff like that. It's really fantastically simple. You just have all the control. You can do whatever you want. Bleed control, overhead balance, room balance, shells mix, cymbals mix. Great. Everything that you would want to have. Okay. So all of that aside, let's talk about working with the drums, because it doesn't matter how fun or functional they are to use. If it doesn't make sense when you're trying to write them, or if you can't get the sounds that you're going for, it's kind of useless, right? And in previous videos and with previous drum libraries, I tend to say that cymbals are the weakest point of a drum library. In my opinion, maybe that's just because they get processed to such a degree where they're really tinny and thin. They don't have the weight that you would expect to hear from them. This is definitely not the case with the ELE. It feels like I'm hitting that. I don't know. If you've never played drums, it's hard to describe this. But as a guitar player, just imagine you're listening to a guitar part and it just doesn't have the depth. It doesn't have the thickness that you would expect to hear from it. When this ride cymbal is, when I'm hearing it, it sounds like a stick and is hitting it, and then the cymbal is moving. It's like they picked that up. It's awesome. It really must be said that the articulations for the ride and the hi-hats are superb, okay? So one of the things that I always did as a drummer that I like to do is I like to do like the tight hat to the slowly opening hat and then end on the open hat. One thing that they've got right also is that there are different shank levels of the hi-hat. Now, that's nothing new, but usually what it ends up being is like super open, super open, super open, closed. No. When I played drums, because I always played a double kick pedal or 2 kick drums, I would have the hi-hat always open, but I would describe it as like a slushy sound. Like the cymbals were sort of always touching, but they were open in case I wanted to do some open close stuff. It wasn't open like this. It was open literally like I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch, 1 or 2, like a centimeter, very, very thin. So it was very, slushy sounding. And this is that exact sound. So it's open. That's a little bit more open. I've done that before in real life. But you get the same hi-hat articulation. So you get the same exact feedback that you would want from the hi-hat. And, there's not a lot. I've always been looking for that in hi-hats because I'm like, no, guys, I don't have the hi-hat open or I don't have it closed. I have it just barely open where the cymbals are touching each other for this wishy-washy, slushy sound. And here we have it right here. You can hear how the cymbals are touching each other when the decay goes away. All right. I also have to give them high marks for all of the closed articulations. That's exactly what it sounds like. A tight tip is you're laying into the pedal on the hi-hat. That's exactly what it sounds like. Tip close is like maybe your foot's resting on it, so it's a little bit loose. Tip open, that's exactly what it sounds like. Shank and tight. What that means is like here's the hi-hat. The tip is literally playing with the tip of the drumstick, and the shank is you're coming in like a little bit, a quarter way down on the shaft. So there's a difference in sound. The shank sounds will usually be a bit thicker, a bit more weight to them, which you can clearly hear. Now, I'm not taking anything away from other libraries I've checked out in the past. I'm just saying that it goes a long way when you have an engineer that knows what they're doing, and then they have the drummer who also is really good and knows how to play the drums. Again, not taking anything away from anything I've looked at previously. It's cool to hear that there's still something to do in the drum programming sphere that can be improved on. And I think cymbals are really what that improvement is. Shells have been sounding pretty good for a while, especially in the last couple of years, but the room microphones and the hi-hat and the ride articulations are, for me, the bleed control, all that stuff is really neat to mess with because, instead of being frustrated, like now I have all this bleed that I somehow have to get rid of, I have the bleed. Now I can control every bit of it. So these drums sound massive. Okay, they're very easy to program. In my experience here, I typically stay around 115. For the blast, I'm going down as low as 80s-ish. But it just depending on how the snare sounded in the song. I make these final humanization decisions while the song was playing. And man, it's just, and obviously, you know, they're not on the grid. I did all that stuff. You know, there's nothing really new here if you've used a drum library before of what you would be expecting me to say. I think what I really want to say is just that these are different because of those gigantic room mics. There's 4 of them: room, near, front, far, and hall. There's 4 of them, guys. So you can make your drum sound ridiculously huge. Okay, and as far as processing goes, did nothing on the kick. All right, what did I do on the snare? Just, you know, brought up the topping a little bit, took out the boxiness, and then took out the low end. Toms, what did I do? Oh, this is just on the tom bus, by the way. I didn't do anything individually. I just literally did the same thing. Just kind of did a little smiley face and then brought up the high frequency a little bit. Nothing on that. I don't think I did anything on the ride, did I? I did. So I took down a little honky frequency from the ride cymbal. Spots in general, honky throughout. Just a filter on top. Overhead's nothing. Rooms, I think I just did the lows. Yeah, just did the lows. Nothing on the halls and that. And drums. So what I do in the drums, I did just a single low cut at 30, and I did very minute amount of compression. Just saying all the drums through the single 2500 bus compressor here. That's it. That's all I did for processing. Because everything else has been done by Jordan with the preset that I'm using. And then obviously what I did is I passed the drums through the room reverb right here. And then the toms and the snare are getting passed through the plate, which is going right here. I mean, it couldn't be any more basic, honestly. All the hard work has been done. I really like these drums. And anytime that I want big, just gargantuan sounding toms, like, it's easy to do it with this one. I can do that. It's quite simple. And that's honest to God, I really don't have anything else to say about the drums, is that they sound great. They have that natural feel to them. I say this a lot, but these sound very organic without being totally raw, okay, or being overly processed. But these will fit very well for like heavy metal music, thrash metal music, maybe some older 90s style death metal type music, or I don't know, modern. You could probably even do gent with it. Probably could, because, you know, this snare drum sounds great. That's a fantastic rim shot. Great sounding center. Yeah, it's awesome. I really have nothing else to add. Totally worth it. Absolutely worth it. I really have to give Glenn credit for a guy who bitched about drum samples over and over and over and over and over. Yeah, I kind of got to give him credit for having the balls to go out there and make a product and try to make it better, or try to solve certain things that he thought were wrong with drum programming libraries in the past. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. So here's the store page. I did want to mention one last thing. So here's the store page. It is on sale now. I'm going to put a link for this down below. It is an affiliate link. So that means if you buy through that link, I will get a small commission. Just telling you up front. Now, the other thing that happened is my drum programming mastery course has been added as a bonus to this. So you can get 50% off of metal drum programming mastery with Extinction Level Event when you add it to the cart. So as far as I understand, you add this to the cart, and then you add metal drum programming mastery to the cart, and then the discount is automatically applied at checkout. Alrighty, so that's really going to do it. I did not want to do an hour-long dissertation. I just wanted to hit on the points of where ELE is different and what it does best and why you might want to check out these drums. So the room mics, 4 of them, that's where you're going to have just gigantic amount of ambience and character into your drums. They're easy to program. They do sound great. You have all bleed control. So everything's at your fingertips, really. This is a very well-crafted product, engineered by a guy who knows how to record drums for real. So it's pretty damn cool. So I really got to give Glenn credit here. So Glenn, good job. You did good. I don't know if drummers will start to count to 4 anytime soon, or if you'll find a bass player that you like, but man, we can really hope now, because you did the drum programming plugin. I'm literally scared to see what comes next from you. So, but good job on this one. Good job on this one. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.